Jurassic World stands as the fourth entry in the Jurassic franchise. Depending on who you ask, some people like it, some people hate it. Me personally, I don't mind it. Hello everyone, my name is David, and welcome to the Rewrite Workshop. On this channel we take movies and other forms of entertainment and rework them so that we can bring out their full creative vision. If you're new here, welcome. The main problem that I find commonly cited with Jurassic World is that it veers too far from the series' roots. It becomes a bit too much of an action movie rather than a scientific thriller like the original movie. So my goal with this rewrite is to keep what is really good and then rework some of the things that are better, such as reworking Hoskins and Dr. Wu and just making the whole movie smarter. As always, though, as always, I say like this isn't the second rewrite video ever. Anyways, my goal with this is not to completely overhaul the script. I think that the movie stands perfectly well on its own, so we can keep the entire status quo and general flow of the movie the same while reworking things in order to build a better movie and set it up for the rest of the trilogy. So anyways, without further ado, let's begin. The movie will open with a similar scene of the two Indominus eggs hatching. After the Indominus hatches, we cut to a few years later, where Gray goes to Jurassic World to meet up with Zach. In this rewrite, the parents are not getting divorced, they just have both gotten caught up at work and couldn't get vacation time. Thanks to Claire, Zach was able to get a summer internship in the research division at Jurassic World. So Gray is visiting to see what he has been working on. Zach, however, has not seen much of his aunt all summer. Zach is happy to finally be away from his parents, but after they drop Gray off and leave, Gray has some anxiety. He's never gone on a trip without his parents before. As they take the ferry and get to the island, Claire calls Zach. She explains that she got caught up in a project and can't join them until dinner. Yeah, what else is new? After Claire hangs up, she talks with Dr. Wu in the lab while she waits for Masrani to arrive. Dr. Wu is asking Claire to persuade Masrani to not unveil the Indominus Rex. He knows the park is in desperate need of a revenue bump, but the Indominus is expressing unexpected behaviors. In this rewrite, Jurassic World will be a very successful park, but unveiling a new asset is what gets them the most press, and that has a downside in that the costs to develop a new asset and then display it only further adds to the park's operating costs. Claire says, "Unless we can find a way to increase revenue without unveiling the Indominus, Mr. Masrani wants the animal revealed to the public. That's not something I can control." Dr. Wu only scowls at this. To him, he doesn't see an animal. Claire very briefly stops in the control room, and the conversation between her and Lowry remains the same.
The Indominus Rex.
Oh, that is so terrible.
The helicopter arrives, and Claire boards it to meet Masrani. On the ride over to the Indominus paddock, Claire tries to persuade Masrani to wait on revealing the Indominus. Masrani dismisses Wu's concerns, thinking Wu is just being too worried. Dr. Wu is a brilliant scientist, and I understand this new frontier seems risky, but progress always feels risky, Claire. The two land at the enclosure and will examine the paddock. This scene remains mostly the same. Rather than having the cracked glass, we instead see scratch marks only going halfway up the wall at multiple points. Masrani sees the marks and becomes a little concerned. He asks Claire to bring in one of the park's animal behavioralists, Owen Grady. He wants Owen to evaluate the Indominus before they proceed.
Maybe he sees something we can't.
We then cut to Owen, who is at the Velociraptor paddock. Owen is getting a slight change in this movie. Rather than him actively controlling the raptors, he's instead up on the gangway, observing the behavior of the raptors and trying to train them. Throughout the sequence, we see that Owen is employing similar techniques that one would use in training a monitor lizard, as he has found the training works well with the raptors. He has some success training each raptor individually, but when all four of them are together, Blue is firmly in command, and none of them will listen to him. We also see that even individually, the Raptors will hesitate to follow simple commands, with Blue being the worst offender. That becomes important for later. Owen and Barry are dismayed after their final group attempt for the day fails, especially since Head of Security Vic Hoskins was watching today's attempt. In this rewrite, Barry is still a Raptor trainer, and we get some hints from their conversation that he studied under Dr. Alan Grant before coming to work here. As he greets Owen, they have an exchange that is clearly some sort of inside joke. Eyes on me, Owen. No, eyes on me, Barry. Since Hoskins is head of security and in charge of the ACU, he has taken a special interest in the Raptors. He believes they could provide valuable insights into the psychology of the dinosaurs. Instead of the original movie where he immediately wants the Raptors put in a field test, his view is one of curiosity. He's wondering if raptors would ever be capable of being fully controlled by a human, so that they could be used in military operations. Barry asks Hoskins if he genuinely thinks letting a pack of velociraptors loose for any reason would be a good idea. Owen also remains against the idea. He says that he hasn't found a way to make them recognize a non-raptor as the pack's alpha. After this, we're going to cut away. We're going to cut the sequence where the trainer falls into the enclosure and Owen keeps the raptors at bay, mainly because it doesn't work with this version of Owen's character, and having him in that scene be able to control the raptors when earlier he just wasn't able to at all, so we're going to cut that. At this point, we're going to cut to Zach and Gray, who have met up with Claire's assistant Zara, and they go to watch the T-Rex feed when Zach gets a call from his mom. Zach and Gray's mom finds out that Claire isn't even with them, and she hangs up. Meanwhile, Zach, Gray, and Zara go to watch the Mosasaurus show before they head into the lab to see Zach's internship work, and that Mosasaurus show will be the same scene from the original movie. And also, as an important note for the next movie, we see that the lagoon is not landlocked. Claire is driving on her way to find Owen when she gets a call from her sister, and they have a conversation that will remain pretty much identical to the original movie. She gets to the raptor paddock and finds Owen eating lunch while studying the raptor's movement. He's watching back the footage and notices they seem to be searching the paddock for something, almost as if they're testing it for weaknesses, similar to what the pack in Jurassic Park did. Claire asks Owen to come take a look at something. He agrees, and the two stand outside waiting for the helicopter to land and try to make small talk. In this rewrite, Owen knows of Claire but has never met her. There's a spark of chemistry, but they have no prior history, unlike the original movie. The helicopter arrives, and Owen also gets to meet Dr. Wu for the first time. On the helicopter ride over, Claire and Dr. Wu brief Owen on the Indominus. We cut back to Zach, Gray, and Zara as Zach shows the two of them the lab he's been working in. Gray finds it all fascinating, but Zach is much less enthusiastic. He talks about how he thought he would be doing actual dinosaur cloning, but all he has been doing is cell culture to keep a steady flow of cells called DX cells ready for Dr. Wu. If you've read the Michael Crichton books, you might have picked up on DX. That detail is important. Zach also mentions that he has not seen Dr. Wu for the past few days, so Gray won't be able to ask him any questions. This is also where Zara has to excuse herself to take a phone call, and Zach and Gray will sneak away, as Zach sees Gray is getting a little bored. Gray is initially hesitant since they now have an adult and he isn't anxious anymore, but Zach asks if he wants to go drive a gyrosphere, which gets Gray to go. Owen, Claire, and Dr. Wu make it to the Indominus paddock, and Claire explains how her sibling died at hatching rather than being eaten like the original movie. Owen then asks how much exposure the Indominus has had to other living things, taking note of the crane being how its food is delivered. So there have been no other attempts to socialize it. Did you guys ever have that kid in high school who was a little weird and socially awkward because he had been homeschooled up until 8th grade? Yes? Yep, he points out into the paddock. Now make him a dinosaur. If the sibling had survived, I would have done some initial behavior experiments in addition to everything else. Everything else? Extensive testing was done to understand why this one survived when both embryos were viable. We have everything from blood and skin samples to behavior patterns after the tracking implant was added. How long has the animal been alive? And how long has it been here? Alive for about 2 years, here for a year, and then in the lab for about a year. So for half its life, a bunch of humans poked and prodded it every day, and then it's been socially isolated in the back corner of the island since. This animal is not fit for public display. If I could actually see the thing, I might be able to discern if it has developed psychopathic tendencies. He looks out into the paddock, unable to see the Indominus. He takes some time to check the cameras before noticing the scratch marks by the door, then seeing glimpses of them on the walls. Claire explains they made sure a camera was on each part of the wall she marked up. Owen then becomes extremely concerned, citing that survivorship bias indicates that they are only watching the places where the Indominus failed to climb out. At this point, the paddock's routine automated thermal scan goes off and it comes up empty, confusing Claire, so she resets the system and runs a manual scan, and Dr. Wu looks extremely nervous, quickly glancing at the monitors. The scan comes up empty, prompting Claire to call the control room and get the location of the Indominus without leaving the office. Larry isolates the Indominus tracker and says after a few moments, "Claire, I really hope this is a glitch in the system. It says the Indominus is on the other side of the paddock wall." This is followed by them hearing a worker scream, which gets cut off. Owen runs outside and quietly prompts everyone to hide. He takes a worker's radio and tells Claire and Woot to stay inside. The scene proceeds with Owen whispering to the workers through the radio. As the Indominus gets closer, he prompts everyone to get under the vehicles and cut the gas lines to mask their scents. While we do not see the Indominus fully, we will still have the shot of Owen under the car and the Indominus teeth next to him before roaring and walking away. This adds a bit more tension to the scene and prevents us from having the full Indominus reveal, and most importantly, it makes the escape feel much more believable and not reliant on luck and the humans being stupid. At this point, we cut to Barry and Hoskins. They'll have the same scene from the movie where they're talking in front of Delta and Hoskins gets to put his hand on Delta's neck. It ends with both of them getting the code 19. Hoskins leaves to go to the control room while Barry stays at the raptor paddock to keep an eye on them. Claire, Owen, and Dr. Wu take the helicopter back to the control room. Hoskins walks in shortly afterward on the phone as he mobilizes ACU. Owen says they need to use lethal weapons, which Masrani protests, same as the original movie.
We have $26 million invested in that asset. We can't just kill it.
As ACU begins to mobilize, we cut to Gyrosphere Valley. Since Zack and Gray have VIP passes, they get to pilot a gyrosphere rather than the automated ones on a set route. We get a scene similar to the original movie where they first see the dinosaurs. This is the closest Gray has gotten to a live dinosaur, and he is very excited. The brothers will have a heart-to-heart about Zack's internship scaring Gray, because it's given him a taste of what it will be like to not have his older brother around. Zack is much more comforting in this scene.
We'll always be brothers and we'll always come back to one another.
As the two continue on their ride and spend some time together, we see beyond the tree line that the ACU team is driving past. The ACU team parks where the tracker says the Indominus is, according to the control room. They park and begin to slowly move forward. They can hear the sound of the Indominus breathing and growling, but do not see it. The team captain relays info to Hoskins and moves past a tree to see a dead Triceratops. They slowly move forward until we get the shot of the blood dripping on the captain's arm. The team then hears the sound of branches cracking to the left of the captain. The Indominus undoes its camouflage, giving us the full reveal, and we see the blood that was dripping was Triceratops' blood dripping from the Indominus's mouth. The captain shouts, "It can camouflage!" before being eaten by the Indominus. And after this, the scene plays out the same. As the remains of the team get out, Hoskins turns to Dr. Wu. "What the hell did you make in that lab?" Hoskins then storms into a conference room and Owen calls for the island to be evacuated. Evacuate the island. We'd never reopen. You made a genetic hybrid, experimented on it and made it fear humans, then raised it in captivity. She is seeing all of this for the first time. The only living things she's ever seen have attacked it. You mentioned to Claire and Wu you fear the animals develop psychopathic tendencies. Hoskins returns from his call in the conference room. Developed, or was born with them. Mr. Masrani, what she has experienced is that humans are not friendly. She will kill any human she finds, and based on what happened to that Triceratops, maybe any dinosaur as well. But I do not think you want to test that theory any further. Now, asset containment can use live ammunition in an emergency situation. You have an M134 in your armory.
Put it on a chopper and smoke this thing!
We have families here. I'm not going to turn this place into some kind of a war zone. We're a little late on that. Such authorization requires majority approval from the 3 branches of the park. Well, all 3 of us are here. Might as well. He turns to see Dr. Wu is gone. Where's Henry? He left a few minutes ago. He was muttering something about needing to secure his research. Owen says, and I better do the same. He walks up to Masrani and says, I would have a word with your people in the lab. That thing out there, that's no animal. Claire closes the park and has everyone move to Main Street. She calls Zara, but Zara tells her Zack and Gray ran off. Dr. Wu emerges from the back parts of the lab to see Masrani walking up to him. The scene where they speak in Dr. Wu's office will remain basically unchanged because it does such a good job at characterizing Dr. Wu.
All of this exists because of me.
And showing his frustration with Masrani's corporate interference.
But you didn't ask for reality, you asked for more teeth.
I never asked for a monster!
Masrani asks Dr. Wu to return with him to the control room so that they can coordinate to figure out a solution. Wu is hesitant but reluctantly agrees. Zack and Gray continue through the Gyrosphere Valley, ignoring the ride closed command. They eventually come across a group of ankylosauruses by the perimeter fence. They watch the ankylosaurus herd graze. A mother plays with her baby, and the alpha teaches a younger ankylosaurus how to best utilize its tail. Claire calls Zack, but the signal shorts out like the original movie. She goes to find Owen after getting the location of the gyrosphere from Lowry. She sees on the monitors that Owen is being confronted by security. He wanted to talk to Dr. Wu, but security is preventing him from going in. Owen agrees to help, and they leave to go to the Gyrosphere Valley. Suddenly, Gray sees something move in the tree line behind the perimeter fence. A large claw reaches out of the tree line, and the rest of the Indominus comes out of camouflage. It tries to climb over the perimeter fence, but gets shocked. It roars in pain, which draws the attention of the Ankylosaurus herd. Gray, what kind of dinosaur is that? I don't know. Did you make it? No. The Indominus crashes through the fence. Initially, we see it walk towards the Ankylosaurus pack, and it looks curious. Having never seen this creature before, it is confused. The alpha moves up to the front of the pack and prepares to attack. Seeing this aggression, the Indominus roars and begins to fight as the rest of the pack flees. This helps us see a little bit of what Owen was talking about. The Indominus is curious at living things, but then it ends up reacting violently when it finds that the living thing is a threat. As the pack flees, they hit the gyrosphere and knock it over. Zack and Gray watch as the Indominus kills the Alpha in the same way it does in the original movie. The Indominus turns the gyrosphere right side up with its mouth, curious about what this thing is. It roars upon seeing that Zack and Gray are humans and attempts to break open the gyrosphere it does in the original movie. Zack disconnects his and Gray's seatbelts and they run through the hole in the fence that the Indominus made. They manage to lose it in the tree line and try to get just as far away as possible. We then cut back to the control room. Hoskins and Dr. Wu are in a conference room with Masrani. They're debating how to take care of the crisis. Lowry briefly enters to tell them the Indominus is in the heart of Gyrosphere Valley and is still moving closer to the park. All three of them have a different idea of how to stop it. Masrani wants to get a chopper with the M134 on it to kill the Indominus. While he initially wanted the Indominus to be captured, he has seen how the situation has gone from bad to worse, and is now willing to kill the Indominus if it is the only option left. The Indominus is in the open right now too, so it is the perfect opportunity. Hoskins is not willing to risk more ACU lives for Masrani's idea. He thinks the raptors might be able to herd and weaken the Indominus, and then ACU can get the raptors back and put the Indominus down. It's clear that Hoskins underestimates the capabilities of the velociraptors. Wu is completely against the idea of killing the Indominus. The creation and experiments done on the Indominus have taught him so much. That being said, he does know that he could just make another one if need be, even if he would prefer to not lose all of his progress. Masrani is not in favor of releasing the raptors, and thinks that capturing the Indominus will endanger too many lives. Lowry is watching them pace inside the conference room and massages his temples. This is clearly more than he signed up for. Let me be as clear as I can. No velociraptors are going to be set loose on this island. You're out of your mind. And look, we have 20,000 people here who have nowhere to go. That thing is a killing machine.
And it will not stop.
Hoskins, I am sorry that you have lost men, but you are not thinking clearly. ACU is the only team who even has authorization to use live ammunition. You still don't even have a majority vote. He glares at Dr. Wu. I'm just surprised you haven't brought up the DX contingency. What's that? The original park had something called the lysine contingency, but Isla Sorna showed that to be a flawed system. Years ago, I discovered tissue samples taken from the excavation teams had a prehistoric prion disease. Based on my research, it will cause severe mental degradation in the host, killing it in as short a time as 24 hours, depending on immune response. I would prefer to not kill the Indominus, but if it must be done, we would simply need to infect the carcass with one of my hyperactive mutants of DX, and leave it in a place where the Indominus would find it when she gets hungry. Insane. But if there's a way to ensure it won't infect anyone else, I'm in. Absolutely not. We do not know the capabilities of this contingency. No velociraptors, no DX. Very well. I cast my vote as yes. You have authorization to use live ammunition. Just don't come to me when you need help again. We cut to Owen and Claire, who are driving through Gyrosphere Valley. There is an awkward silence in the car before Claire speaks. Why were you trying to talk to Dr. Wu anyway? I wanted him to reveal more about the Indominus's genetic makeup. She climbed out of her paddock without any visual or thermal cameras seeing anything. That just doesn't happen by chance. Now, we know it can camouflage, so the visual part is sort of explained, but she shouldn't be able to hide from thermal and camouflage at the same time. Also, I've only ever seen one animal almost manage to climb out of that kind of paddock. What animal? Did you ever wonder why we put in a work order to have that overhang installed on the raptor paddock? You think the Indominus is part raptor? Yes, and some of its movements and hunting patterns match as well. It lured the ACU team in with a Triceratops carcass and then snuck up on them from the side, and they didn't even know it was there. Makes me wonder if... He trails off, seeing something ahead. We get the scene of the dying Apatosaurus, and Owen and Claire comfort it as it dies from its wounds. After it dies, they start driving along the Indominus's warpath. They see the pack of Ankylosauruses Zack and Gray saw, but they are all dead, along with a lot of other dinosaurs within the valley. Eventually, they make it to the spot where the Indominus fought the Ankylosaurus alpha. Owen will remark how it hasn't been eating them, just killing for sport, or it's an irrational defense mechanism. We also see him examining the corpse and Indominus footprints. Owen and Claire find the destroyed gyrosphere, and Owen cuts the Indominus tooth free while Claire looks for her nephews. She sees that Zack and Gray went through the hole in the fence. Owen encourages her to go back, and he'll find them, but Claire says she's not going back, and she's going with Owen. We cut to Zack and Gray. They are moving through the jungle until they come across a door. They enter to find a small secret lab has been set up. Keen-eyed viewers will see that this is actually the old lab from the first Jurassic Park. This plays on the nostalgia that the movie was going for originally without being super overt about it. They look around, and Zack sees cryovials with his DX cells sitting in liquid nitrogen, alongside vials of red liquid. Zack, what is that stuff? It looks like the media my cells are cultured in. Dr. Wu had me collect media and store it whenever I had to put the cells onto new plates. No one ever told me why we needed to keep it. Suddenly, another door opens, and Dr. Wu and Hoskins storm in, arguing, while Zack and Gray hide. Masrani wants us in the control room. Make this quick. You asked about DX. What you're about to see, no one else can know. Wu reveals the cells and the media vials. So this is DX? I created a cell line capable of generating functional DX, all excreted into the surrounding media and collected by a helpful intern. The cell line is derived from a single specimen. Here. He opens a large freezer, revealing the frozen body of the Indominus sibling. Both embryos carried DX proteins. Both of them were viable. This one died, and I don't know why. Are you telling me you gave the Indominus a mental degradation disease, it survived, and you didn't tell anyone? I had to know. I needed it to survive so I could study what made it immune. This iteration of virus is unstable. That instability might be enough to bypass the Indominus's immune system and kill it. Might. The raptors would be a safer bet. Wu smirks. Feel free to explain that to Masrani. Wu and Hoskins leave and take their car back to the control room. Zack and Gray had been sneaking around, avoiding the two adults while they were talking, but they now leave, finding a refurbished Jurassic Park Jeep. They drive off back towards the park. The sound of engines draws the attention of Owen and Claire, who start making their way that direction. As they make their way over, we see a scene of Masrani asking the ACU team for volunteers. He knows much of the current predicament is his fault, so he has decided to fly the helicopter himself so that another pilot does not have to risk their life. But he needs someone to operate the M134. He gets a few volunteers, and the helicopter prepares to take off to kill the Indominus. Claire gets a call from Larry saying that ACU got authorization from Hoskins and Wu to use live ammunition, and they are going for the Indominus. He says she's between the original visitor center and the aviary. Owen tells Claire they need to hide, since that is where they are. They find the garage with the jeeps Zack, Gray, Hoskins, and Wu were just at. They hide behind another broken down jeep, and the scene with the Indominus finding them in the garage can remain the same. Owen and Claire run just as Masrani arrives and finds the Indominus. The helicopter flies overhead and starts chasing the Indominus. However, the ACU agent is unable to get a clear shot, and they have to pull away because of the aviary, which the Indominus breaks into. The alert pops up on the control room feed.
No. Looks like the fox got in the henhouse.
Larry, start the emergency shelter alarm. Get the patrons inside. He gets on the phone. Get the rest of ACU equipped with tranq darts and meet me at Main Street. And that's going to do it for part 1 of this Jurassic World rewrite. Unfortunately, had to cut this one a little bit short due to some copyright restrictions, but just going to end it right here, and I'll hope to see you all in part 2.